It's been some years, y'all. So, I know the whole meme about 2020 and everything, but 2019 was actually my personal worst year of my life. 2020, relatively, despite the like 12 apocalypses that were all happening simultaneously, 2020 was actually kind of starting to look up for me. It kind of feels bad saying that because there was so much shit happening in the world, but by October of 2020, I was working for a job that I really loved in an industry that I was really passionate about. It's a small business. I really cared about my boss, and we were actually like making this small business move up. I was one of the lucky few to lose some quarantine weight. I was working on some creative projects that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and finally had the energy and motivation to do. I was reconnecting with old friends. I was making new acquaintances, really sort of coming out of my shell. It was great. And then, um, and then things got really bad again. But this time it wasn't like horrendous world events happening, and it also wasn't personal life stuff. Well, it was kind of personal life stuff, but it was medical this time. So I've suffered from chronic migraines my whole life. It's honestly not really something that I've thought about much anymore. I've had it since I was a child. When I was 12 years old, I did have some very severe issues that ended with me seeing a ton of specialists and doctors. I was very, very sick with the migraines and related issues for a long time. But after that, I just kind of learned how to self-medicate with over-the-counter migraine medication like Excedrin and lots of caffeine. And I developed a really high pain tolerance, I guess, and I just kind of learned to live with them. Um, my eyesight is really bad, so I do get eye strain-induced migraines as well. Unfortunately, there's nothing that can be done to fix my eyesight, so it's just something that I had to learn to live with. I had to just kind of suck it up and accept that this was my lot in life. Um, but recently, in October, I started getting dizzy spells and vertigo. And at first I wrote it off. It was seasonal allergies or something, and I didn't really think that much of it. But it kept getting worse, and it kept getting worse, and it turned out that I had vestibular migraines, and that's something that's not as easy to just write off and treat with Excedrin and coffee. So I've been going through grueling medical processes for the past 3 months or so now. Um, to try and fix this so I can get my life back to normal, because my life has really been turned upside down, and really taken a pause on everything that was making my life better after the shitty year that was 2 years ago. So vestibular migraines, from my understanding, my research, the way the doctors explained it to me, you don't necessarily get the pain, that headache part of the migraine with them all the time, although they can be accompanied by a more traditional migraine. But what they do is they give you vertigo attacks. That dizziness, that sense of unbalance. Sometimes it can be accompanied by like a confusion as well. It's not fun. It's really not fun. Um, I would describe it, for my experience, almost less like the room is spinning and more like my brain is spinning around inside my skull while everything else stands still. Um, it's kind of like being very drunk without the stomach queasiness, but that almost everything is lagging as you're trying to catch up. Um, and it's debilitating. It's really, really debilitating. And I had no idea what they were. I'd never heard of them before, even though I'd had vestibular migraines before, but I didn't know what they were. When I was 12 years old, I got very sick. I started getting migraines, and at first I thought it was just a normal headache. Take some pain medicine and you'll be fine the next day. But the migraine didn't go away, and it didn't go away. Um, and ultimately, it didn't go away for about 2 months. I had one singular migraine that lasted me about 2 months. And then throughout that process, I was also getting weaker. I was having issues with dizziness, with balance, with vertigo, although I didn't really have the words for it at a time. And I ended up actually needing to use a wheelchair because I couldn't keep my balance well enough to walk. And I was taken to every kind of specialist imaginable. My parents didn't know what was going on with me, and the doctors couldn't figure it out. Did I have a brain tumor? Was it psychological? Was it, they had no idea. And finally, they concluded that it's probably something neurological, But at that point, they were more concerned with just treating the symptoms and getting me back to normal. And so that's what they did. They put me on pain medicine. They took me to physical therapy to help me with my dizziness. And eventually the episode just faded away, I guess, because they happen in episodes. And I wasn't really that concerned with figuring out what happened at that point because I just wanted my life to get back to normal. One of my worst fears comes true, though, that it happens again. I start getting dizzy, but I don't think that it's the same thing. I think I was in denial because I think I could tell that it was very similar, but I didn't want it to be. First I thought maybe I needed new glasses. Like I said, my eyes are terrible. I need a new prescription about every 9 months. And I do start getting increased migraines even for my daily migraines because of that. So I got my new glasses. That didn't really change the dizziness issues. So I kept going. I kept pushing through it. I was really stubborn about it. My roommates knew I would just, okay, I need to go have a lie down, and I didn't really say much more about it. Finally, one day at work, I'm feeling fine when I go in, but then I come in and I'm hit with a dizziness spell really, really bad, a really bad one. I can barely stand. I'm opening the shop, I'm the only one there. It's about 5 minutes to open. I've been there for about 10 minutes just getting the cash register together and things like that. And I can barely stand. So I call my boss and I'm crying and I'm so apologetic and I'm like, look, this is what's going on. I don't know what to do. She says it's fine, but I have to get to a doctor. So I do. I go to an urgent care kind of place. And they can't figure out anything. They do blood tests and, they check to see if they do the COVID test and all that. But they can't find anything. So the doctor prescribes me some kind of medication that's supposed to help with vertigo. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I will edit in the name of the medication somewhere here maybe. I pick up the script and go about my way. I'm stubborn, like I said, so I just go back to work the next day. That night, while my roommate and I are trying to put our heads together and figure out what could possibly have been going on, we come up with the answer. A couple weeks prior, our fridge had started leaking, and there was some bubbling under the floor around it. We contacted our roommate and he got it fixed, but we were starting to wonder if maybe some mold had developed under that floor where the bubbling was, and I was having an allergic reaction to the mold. I looked up mold allergy symptoms and it did seem to fit. My roommate at the time was also having some weird symptoms that also fit mold allergy symptoms, although were different from mine. It turned out this wasn't what was going on. My roommate was just having their normal seasonal allergies, and I was, of course, having the migraines, but at the time, that seemed like the best answer. I think partially because I was still in denial that this could be a repeat of what happened to me as a child. So I go to work the next day, and my head is spinning, and I can tell that I'm not well. But I'm a broke ass bitch. I got bills to pay, so I go back to work. I take my dizzy pills, and the other manager at the store sees me, and she can kind of tell that I'm not doing well. But I kind of brush her off. I'm like, yeah, I'm still not doing well. But I had texted her about the mold theory, and she seemed to think it sounded right. So, if I, once I'm away from it, it should clear up if that's what it is, and I've got these dizzy pills, so I should be good to go once I'm here for a bit. But I'm clearly visibly not doing well, so she sends me away from customer-facing areas to do some work. Where I work, we make all of our own product. The store is at a split level, so the ground floor is the sales floor, and then we have a basement where we actually make our product. So she sends me downstairs to do some work, and so I go down and start working. And I can tell I'm not doing well. It's taking me way longer than it should to do anything, because I just have to keep stopping to steady myself, keep stopping to let the lag stop, let the room keep up with me, let my brain stop spinning for a bit. I can tell that things are not good, but I'm stubborn, so I keep trying to work through it. I sit down for a minute, get my bearings, then get back up and keep working. Um, and the frequency of the times that I have to sit to get my bearings keeps increasing and keeps increasing. And I'm kind of panicking because I can tell that something's not right, but I, I don't want to say anything because, again, stubborn and broke ass bitch. So, eventually my stubbornness becomes my downfall, literally, when I get so dizzy that I stumble. I took one of my dizzy pills, and unfortunately, one of the side effects of those is drowsiness. And I think that the drowsiness, the dizzy pills didn't help. They don't help with vestibular migraines, this particular type of medicine. And so I think instead the drowsiness just combined with the vertigo and knocked me out. I didn't faint. I knew that I was going down at first, so I did catch myself when I fell, but once I actually hit the ground, then I passed out. So luckily I wasn't super injured. I didn't fully hit my head because I was able to brace myself. I just got scraped up a little. But just from the actual impact and the surprise, and because I was so dizzy and so drowsy from the medicine, once I actually did hit the ground, then I shut off. And that's terrifying. Like, I knew it was happening, but I couldn't do anything about it. So eventually I did actually come to on my own. I don't know how long I was out. It could have only been for a minute. It could have been 10 minutes. It wasn't too terribly long, though, because nobody did come down and find me. But shortly after somebody did come down, I dragged myself back up and I tried to get back to work. And the whole time I was trying to get back to work, I was panicking. I was thinking, what the fuck am I gonna do? I know that I need to tell somebody, like if it was the other way around, I'm also a manager, and if the other manager, one of my other employees, had passed out, I would want to know what happened, whether or not they picked themselves back up, and but selfishly, and the stubborn side of me was going, you can't afford to miss another day of work. You already had out yesterday when you went to the doctors. You need to keep working, so just keep working through this. But I was still feeling terrible, so I did sit back down, and eventually a new person that we were training, it was like her third day, came down the stairs to check on me, and I did give up. I was like, I need you to get the other manager. Something's wrong. So she ran back upstairs, the other manager came downstairs, and I tell her, it fell. I'm not okay. I'm really sorry. And she starts freaking out, and she calls our boss, the owner of the store, and they decide that, they can afford to send me home. It's a busy weekend, so I feel really guilty about this. It's only the other manager and the new girl there, but they're like, look, your health is more important, but you have to go to an emergency room. I was uninsured at this point. I really didn't want to do that. I couldn't afford an ER bill. But I could tell clearly if I'm passing out at work, something's not right. Like, I recognized at that point my health was more important. So to the ER I went. I called my roommate who came and picked me up, and I spent a grueling day at the ER going through a gauntlet of tests to come up with absolutely nothing. They had no idea what was going on. So that's fun. The ER ended up referring me to a place that specializes in vertigo. So I made an appointment with the vertigo clinic, and they ran me through another gauntlet of tests. And they also concluded that there was nothing that they could do. So they referred me to a neurologist. Finally, I think I'm going to be able to get some answers. Yay! Not quite. Eventually, yes, the neurologist has started me on a treatment plan and does know what's going on. She has diagnosed me with the vestibular migraines, but she had to rule out some other things first, which I guess makes sense. She had to make sure it wasn't something else more serious or something else that had to be treated in a different way, but it's very frustrating. I felt like I was getting to a finish line once I got to the neurologist, only to have her go, it's probably this, but before we start treating you for this, we actually have to do X, Y, and Z first. That's very frustrating. The whole time that this is happening, I'm not allowed to work. My boss brings me in a couple hours a week to do some office work and things that I can sit down to do. But it's a retail job, and it's a high volume, high intensity, like I've got to be moving and quick. We're making everything on top of dealing with customers, and there's not a lot that I can do if I'm passing out and a liability to the job until I can get treated. So I'm not working for months at this point. It's December by the time I get in with the neurologist, and you know, so it's very frustrating to finally get to this finish line. Oh, good, you can tell me what's wrong, you can fix me, and I can get back to my life. And then have her go, actually, we have to do a bunch of other stuff first. So, so the three things that I have to do, I have to get MRIs, which I get 2 of them. They come back completely clear. Cool. There's no tumors, I guess, or anything that show up. I have to see a neuro-ophthalmologist who looks at my eyes and confirms, yes, your eyes are terrible, but that's not what's causing the migraines. So thanks for telling me what I already knew. And I have to get a lumbar puncture or a spinal tap. Great band, terrifying procedure. The spinal tap has definitely been the worst of all this. Like, it really taking a 3, almost 4 month pause on my life and not being able to work has been the worst part of all this, but the spinal tap has been the worst part of all this. Spinal taps are scary. They stick a big needle in between your vertebrae, and you're awake during the procedure. They numb you, but you have to be awake and moving for it because they ask you to shift around and things. Luckily, I had really great nurse and doctor who were performing the procedure who helped walk me through it. I don't like needles, and the nurse half hugged me through it to calm me down. But I didn't recover well from it. The test came back fine. The spinal tap showed that I didn't have any pressure issues and no infection or anything like that. So after all the tests came through, we did confirm that yes, it is the vestibular migraine, so we can start you on a treatment plan, which is great. I've started on a treatment plan, and I'm already starting to see some improvement in the vertigo. But I'm still not well. I'm still recovering. I'm still adjusting to my medication. I'm still making those vertigo attacks lessen and lessen still. I'm still having them, although they are lessening. And I am recovering from the lumbar puncture, which had complications. Lumbar punctures suck. Don't get them if you can avoid them. So a lumbar puncture has the potential to cause what's called a spinal headache, which obviously they're taking spinal fluid out, cerebral spinal fluid, so until it can regenerate, which your body can do on its own naturally, it just takes a while until it can regenerate, you have a headache. From the way it was explained to me and from the research that I did, essentially what that is because you don't have enough of that fluid in your brain anymore. You're feeling the pressure of your brain kind of tugging on the tendons on your skull because it doesn't have enough liquid to sort of float in. So you have to stay laying down. You're only allowed to sit up at about a 20-degree angle until the headache goes away. You don't feel the headache when you're laying down. You only feel it when you're sitting up or standing. And it's excruciating. I have chronic migraines. I have debilitating migraines, but the spinal headache is like nothing I've ever felt before. The worst pain I've ever felt in my life have been when I had wisdom teeth pulled. I think I had some complications with recovery from that and from this spinal tap. And part of that was from the spinal headache, and the other part was because they apparently brushed a nerve with the needle in my back, and that was the real agony. That was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. I couldn't lay down comfortably. I couldn't sit up comfortably. I couldn't stand comfortably. I thought maybe, I knew I was going to be sore. I knew my back was going to be hurting. I knew my head was going to be hurting for a bit. But they sent me home and told me to take some ibuprofen and drink lots of fluids, and I should be healing up well. They did the procedure on the 29th, and on the 31st, New Year's Eve, my roommate rushed me back to the ER because I was in so much pain I was screaming. I have a very high pain tolerance. So I think my roommate was more scared than I was. I was just like, fuck, I'm in a lot of pain. I'll heal up, it's okay. But my roommate was like, no, something's wrong. So by the time I get to the ER, I'm incoherent. I think I was very rude to the nurses on accident. I did apologize profusely once they got pain meds into me and I was able to think straight. Um, but it was bad. And that's when they determined, yeah, we think we touched a nerve in your back when we did the spinal tap, and that's definitely causing some complications. So that, and the spinal headache was definitely an issue as well. Normally, with the spinal headache, they can fix that by giving you what's called an epidural blood patch, where they take some blood out of your arm and then inject it back into where they did the spinal tap, and it seals that hole better. Sometimes there's an issue of like a leakage, a small leakage, that can cause the pressure to um, not not rebuild itself as quickly. Essentially, like if there's a small leak until that hole fully heals up, you're not gonna be able to fully refill your brain juices as fast. But they didn't want to do that because they didn't want to put another needle in my back if I was already hurting that bad from the nerve in the first time. So I couldn't. So I had to deal with the spinal headache longer than most people could because I couldn't have that treatment option because they didn't want to stress my back even further. Um, I was bedridden. Literally, doctor's orders not allowed to leave my bed for like a week and a half. And that's not fun. Not I'm a workhorse. I don't like not doing things. It was already frustrating not being able to go to work. It was frustrating being dizzy and having trouble doing my normal household tasks, needing to get my roommates to help me carry a cup of coffee back to my room because I was afraid of being dizzy and just falling and spilling it. So to get to the point where I literally wasn't allowed to leave my bed was a nightmare, and it sucks. And I'm so glad that I'm at least able to sit up now. Like being able to sit up now and talk for a bit is a huge improvement from how I was a week and a half ago. I'm still very weak. I'm probably gonna be worn out for the rest of the day just from setting up my tripod and talking in a camera for a little bit. But I really wanted to get this out here. So hopefully I'll start building back my strength and I can get back to working on the projects that I really want to do.
Hello! If you stuck through all of this, thank you so much for watching. I've definitely spent way more time in hospitals recently than I'd ever have liked to, and having forcibly become a NEET for these past 3 months or so has become a huge source of frustration, so it was very cathartic to be able to just rant for a while. I definitely do intend to keep uploading to this channel, and although I might do update vlogs like this periodically, the main focus of most of my content is definitely not going to be health related. One of my biggest passions is horror media, and I already have some scripts in the works for videos related to that topic. Some I actually already started and had to put on hold before I got sick. So hopefully as I build up my strength, I'll be able to start getting those up soon. And if that sounds like something that might be interesting to you, I'd love it if you stuck around on the channel and see what else I have coming your way. One last shameless plug before I go. Obviously, being out of work while dealing with all this medical drama has been very draining financially, and one of the ways that I've been helping to support myself has been through my Etsy shop. I make flower crowns like the ones you see here on screen, and I will include a link to the shop in the description if that's something you might be interested in checking out. Alright, well thank you so much again. Bye!